Welcome to the World of Ability Podcast Network. We have Emily Gallmer emceeing the event. Take it away, Emily.
Thank you, Karen. I was just gonna start talking when you started. But anyway, welcome everybody to the World of Nutrition podcast. That was started, I think it'll be like a year now. I think we're in our year. With Marilyn Lamera out of Hawaii, talking about nutrition and healthy lifestyle stuff. So I am going to bring Marilyn in here. There we go. So welcome, Marilyn.
Thank you so much, Emily. Welcome to the World of Nutrition podcast. I'm so thrilled. I have two very special women guests, and I will be introducing Angelina Campos first. She is the HypnoBiz coach and has been guiding entrepreneurs throughout the United States and internationally for more than 2 decades. With a degree in accounting and as a certified life coach, certified networker, certified master hypnotist, certified self-hypnosis practitioner and teacher, and 30 plus years entrepreneur, brings success to entrepreneurs through her online coaching programs and one-on-one work. Over her many years of being an entrepreneur and coaching entrepreneurs, Angelina has discovered that success is an inside-out process that must first be defined by the individual. Once they have this clarity, they can design their business that helps them live their best life. Her mission is to empower entrepreneurs everywhere to harness their confidence, joy, and intention, and provide solutions that help them create a thriving business and an abundant life. Her vision is to inspire entrepreneurs to lead boldly, live courageously, love fully, and to do the thing that lights them up, because their light is a beacon that allows others to find them, which in turn makes the world a better place. Thank you, Angelina. Take it away.
Well, hello. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here. So as you were, asking me about this podcast, and I was thinking, well, what can I contribute? Because initially I was thinking nutrition. Well, that's not my lane is nutrition. But then I thought about it. It's like, oh, it's like nutrition for the mind, the body, the soul. Well, that I can jump on board with, because a lot of times we don't think about nutrition for our brain in the way that I work with my clients and my daily practice. And nutrition for the brain is so important. So what I want to talk about is, how we can, I wanted to set my timer here. So you'll have to let me know, Marilyn, when I'm getting there. Okay. Because I can talk about so many things for hours and hours, but I narrowed it down so that your audience can get some nutrition for their subconscious mind. So as you mentioned, that's my wheelhouse. I'm a master hypnotist. I use hypnosis in my business coaching practice and self-hypnosis. And why do I do that? Because our subconscious mind rules everything, and we don't even realize it. Right? The decision has been made in our subconscious mind before our conscious mind or our conscious awareness even knows. And so there's 3 parts of the brain that I tend to focus on: the conscious level, which is the here and now. Like that's the seeing, the hearing, the smelling, right? The touching, that's the conscious level. And then we have the unconscious, which is our body, right? It's just on automatic pilot. And then we have our subconscious mind, which I always it's like back here in the back of our mind. And our subconscious mind is where all the information is. Everything is stored in the subconscious mind, whether it's positive or negative. And so some of the takeaways that I want your audience to have, because I think it would be really powerful to just understand a few key things that would be great nutrition for the mind, is that our subconscious mind does not know the difference between reality, imagination, and fantasy. Like it can't decipher between all of that. And that's why a lot of times you'll hear people who are very successful or athletes, I just visualized myself on the podium with, the gold medal. I visualized my time that I got in my race. Like I saw the clock. And that's so powerful because, again, the subconscious mind doesn't know that that's a fantasy, doesn't know that that's imagination. As far as the subconscious mind is concerned, it thinks that's for real. And so it can really benefit us. And it's so powerful. And that, like I said, it's so powerful and it could actually get in our way. And that's what I want to focus on, is those times where it gets in our way. Because here's the thing, is that the subconscious mind needs evidence. And that is what the food is for the subconscious mind, is evidence. So think about what you're feeding the subconscious mind. What are you feeding your subconscious mind? What is the food, the fuel, the evidence that you're giving your subconscious mind? Because it is going to take that evidence and it's going to run with it. So it could be something, a fear. I'll give an example because I think examples are really helpful for people. So for me, I have had to manage PTSD from a drowning experience I had years ago. But what was happening was it had trickled into my subconscious mind that I didn't even know it was happening. And so over a couple of years, I was becoming more and more claustrophobic. I was developing more and more anxieties. And I was avoiding the things in my business that made my unconscious mind, remember that's the body, made my unconscious mind uncomfortable. So if I was launching, a website or getting ready to launch a new course and I would get those butterflies in my stomach, well, my unconscious mind recognizes that feeling. And it's telling the unconscious or the subconscious mind, it's time to protect me. And so what was happening is I was not doing the things that were going to advance my business. So if you have entrepreneurs here in the audience, think about those things that maybe you're avoiding. A lot of times it's something that the subconscious mind is trying to protect us from. And so for me, it was doing the things that were really going to advance my business, because I would get nervous, but it was that good excitement. But my subconscious mind didn't know the difference between that good excitement, that normal excitement, right? It's totally normal to get those butterflies when you're doing something new, but trying to save me, don't do it. And so I didn't do it. And it got to the point where my business was going in reverse. It just wasn't moving forward. And so I finally, when I realized what was going on, I had to shift that, because every time I avoided doing the thing that was going to help me in my business. So anytime, for the listeners, the viewers, anytime that you're doing something that is going to advance, whether it's in your business, your health, your finances, relationships, and you get that feeling, here's the thing, you've got to do it anyway. You've got to just do it, because like I said, the subconscious mind is looking for evidence. And when we retreat and we get small and we freeze and we don't do it, the subconscious mind says, there's the evidence I needed. See, I'm protecting you. I told you not to do it and you didn't do it. Good for you. But really, was that good for me? Is it good for you? When you don't do the thing that you know is going to propel you forward? No, but the subconscious mind doesn't know that. So instead, we have to feed the subconscious mind evidence that I can do it. And so doing the thing, I remember doing some Instagram lives. I was so nervous to do it, but I knew that I have been giving my subconscious mind all this evidence that I needed to stay safe. I needed to stay small. I needed to stay in the comfort zone. And when I realized that's not going to grow my business, right? That's not going to grow our finances. If it's health related, it's not going to get you healthier, having that mindset. And so I did it. And I remember the day that I did the Instagram live. I was so nervous, but I did it anyway. And I really had fun. And I had people popping up and saying this and that and congratulating me and woohoo kind of thing. So now I gave my subconscious mind evidence that I can do it. Not only can I do it, but I had fun and I lived. right? You lived. I lived, and I lived to do more and more of them. And so the takeaway is just to remember that what we feed the subconscious mind grows. The evidence we give the subconscious mind, that nutrition, right? The nutrition we give the subconscious mind is what they're going to take. They're going to take it and they're going to run with it. And so, again, a reminder, subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality, imagination, fantasy. So I want you to think about something that you've been holding yourself back, whether, whatever it is, any part of your life, where have you just been like, oh, I'm so worried to do that. I'm so afraid to do that. But if you just did that one thing, a small thing or a big thing, whatever it is, you do it. And it's going to just open up so much more for you. Doesn't matter what part of your life you do it, it's going to open up so much more. So then you sit with that and you just close your eyes and you just imagine a way. You go into fantasy and you just see yourself doing it, and you see yourself doing it successfully. What I like to tell my clients is that fear, because a lot of times it's fear-based, whatever it is we're getting stuck in, it's fear-based. Look at it like a vapor, not a brick wall, not a stone wall, right? It's a vapor. And it's a vapor that can just clear. It's not anything that you're just going to go, you can actually move through it so much easier than we realize. And so to imagine, fantasize on the other side of that vapor is beautiful blue sky. And your outcome, your desired outcome. And I tell my clients, dream big, fantasize. Imagine a way, get curious about what that would be like and feel like. Everything, engage all the senses and do this. And again, just see yourself doing that. And then take away the evidence. What happened after that? What were all the great things that were a result of doing that? And trust me, you do it. Again, professional athletes do it. Big time speakers do it. Actors, they do it. They do this type of exercise on a consistent, regular basis. And that's how they're able to get into that frame of mind. And it's shifting the subconscious mind. And when you do that enough, and then you challenge yourself and you actually do the thing, you take the action and you realize, wow, it was scary, but I did it and I lived. And you just might find that you had fun too in the process. You do that and it starts to give your subconscious mind evidence that you can do it. And so there was a time where I was afraid to get into elevators. I don't know if there's anyone here, I'm sure I'm not the only one who does not like to get into elevators, has some claustrophobia, but I guess I did set a little bit of timer for myself. So when I realized this and how powerful our subconscious mind is, I remember telling myself, okay, there's an elevator, there's stairs. I really want to take the stairs. It's 6 flights up, but I really want to take the stairs. But I knew from the work that I do and the training that I have that if I take the stairs, I'm just going to give my subconscious mind more evidence that that was the safer thing to do. And that's what I should do. And so I was willing to confront that fear, to see it as that vapor, to look at that elevator. And by the way, this was in Korea. And it was a tiny elevator. So I just told myself, I'm going to do it because I need to give my subconscious mind evidence that I can do this. And so I did, and I got in the elevator and I was just like, hurry up, let's get to the 6th floor. But I got out, and the thing was on that 6th floor was this amazing dessert cafe. I have a sweet tooth. And so I was there going with my husband and a friend, and I got out and I was just like, wow, I made it. I made 6 flights going in this tiny Korean elevator. And not only did I make it, I survived. I didn't hyperventilate. I didn't have a heart attack. I didn't, all these horrible things that I thought could happen. None of it happened. And instead I came out into this wonderful, just buffet of desserts and just had a really great time. And so it's things like that. When you're facing a fear, just do it anyway. Walk through the vapor, do it anyway. Feed that subconscious mind, give it that really good nutrition, because you are going to find you're going to find out so much about yourself in that process. And again, going back to the evidence, how this now starts to help you in your conscious mind is, just, like I said earlier, subconscious mind rules. It makes the decisions. And when you do it enough, a lot of times what happens when people feel all over the place and, fears and anxieties and anxiousness and overwhelm and stress and, all these things and even, feeling paralyzed by all of it, it's because the conscious mind, the subconscious mind, the unconscious mind, they're not in alignment. They're all over the place. But the more you work on the subconscious mind, it starts to bring the consciousness in alignment. And that's what we're looking for, because we can say, I want on a conscious level. But in the subconscious mind, if it's not agreeing, like, no, really, that's not the safe thing to do, we can have all the affirmations in the world, vision boards, journal, all the things, but we got to get the subconscious mind on board so that in the consciousness, in our conscious state, when we say, I want that, I want to achieve that, I want to do that, I want to be that, now it's not so hard for the subconscious mind to say, oh yeah, you can do that. Yeah, okay, I agree with that. Because I've got enough evidence that on the outside in your consciousness, your conscious state, you got that. You can make that happen. You can be that. And so that's what we're doing, is we're just getting this into alignment. And that is your nutrition for the mind segment for today.
Thank you so much, Angelina. I love that. When you said subconscious mind rules everything and wants to keep us safe. I mean, we want to stay safe, or the subconscious mind wants us to stay safe in our comfort zone, not shine our light. I mean, that is so true. I remember the first time I took a Facebook Live class, and the goal was to do a Facebook Live for 7 days. And I took the class and I was like, no, I'm going to die. And so I didn't do anything during that class. And then I took it again and I just didn't do anything again. And so I took it third. I'm like, I'm giving this guy my money, right? This coach, I'm giving him my money to not do a Facebook Live because I think I'm going to die. And then the third time I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. And I've been doing Facebook Lives, and you're so right. We get more brave. It confirms that, hey, it's okay. And it is fun, when people are coming on and congratulating you. And yeah.
Right. Exactly. And, I'm glad that you shared that, because another thing that I want to point out is that you can't have courage and bravery without experiencing fear, right? We don't know what that is. And so fear doesn't have to be this scary, weird, ugly thing. If we just embrace it and say, okay, the fear is here to keep me safe. And thank you, fear. And go through that anyway, because you're not going to build courage and bravery if we always do what fear tells us to do.
Absolutely. Do it anyway. I love that. And please tell the listeners, how can they find you? What's the best way?
They can find me ownyourambition.com. So it's ownyourambition.com. And you can find me there. I have a couple of offers there. And, if someone is feeling stuck, this is something that is a very specific URL that I'm happy to share. If anyone is feeling stuck, one of my things that I love to do, and one of my greatest gifts is helping people get unstuck with just one thing. And so I do have something. It's ownyourambition.com/best next move. And a lot of times just that 90-minute session can help walk through that vapor of fear and get to the other side. So ownyourambition.com will get them information on both. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Angelina. It's fantastic. Sure. Please go to our website, and that 90-minute session sounds amazing. Just taking one step forward out of the fear, just taking action. So amazing. Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And now we have our next guest, and I'm super excited. It's time to get soulful. Allison Profit is the founder of Profit Coach, as well as a creator of Soulful Entrepreneur Summit and Community. She is a business coach and consultant who takes a holistic approach for helping purpose-driven small business owners feel more heart-centered and soul aligned in the sales, marketing, and operations aspect of their business, as well as their lives. Allison's work is informed through a background in human resources, operations, sales, and marketing, and she is also a certified energy leadership coach through the Institute of Professional Excellence in Coaching. After 4 failed business launch attempts between 2017 and 2019, she found the magic ingredient, which is that joy is the best business strategy. She is passionate about guiding her clients to find the joy in their life and their business, to allow their intuition to guide the way, and teaching them the tangible skills to execute on the path to what she calls soulful success. Since October 2019, Profit Coach has touched the lives of thousands of leaders through one-on-one coaching, group programs, speaking events, SPDC workshops, podcasts, and through impromptu conversations with strangers who become friends. When some significant personal events took place in 2022, Allison decided to re-enter the corporate HR world last August and stepped away from running her business and community to focus on self-care and healing. A year from her purpose-filled business was long enough, and September 12th, 2023 marked the official relaunch of Profit Coach. We're so thrilled to have you back, Allison. Thank you. Please take it away.
Thank you so much, Marilyn. And I'm really excited to be here. And I may take a more conversational approach. I'm really excited because I think everything that I teach and talk about is so aligned with what we just heard. And I also just want to say to you, Marilyn, as somebody that has worked with me, I am so proud to see how joyful you look in running this podcast experience. And I think that where I want to go with this conversation is that when we think of the world of nutrition, and very much like in terms of like our mind and soul and those types of things, as you heard in my introduction, I believe that joy is the best business strategy, but it's also the best life strategy. And I want to be really clear in saying this is not about jumping over all of the other stuff. This is not, some people will say, well, that's like toxic positivity, or spiritual bypassing is a phrase that I've heard some people say. And that's not what this is. And the truth is that when we are going through the muck of life, because life be lifing, no matter what, like, you may have a health crisis or a job loss or some sort of situation in your life that is a grief-filled situation. And very similar to what Angelina was saying, duality is a thing. And what I mean by that is, in order to understand what joy is, we also have to understand grief, right? Like we're probably not going to grieve something if it didn't bring us joy, right? I mean, like if one day somebody came to me and said, you never have to file your taxes again, I would not be grieving that. I would feel quite joyful about that, because I have grieved through the process of doing my taxes. So it would bring me joy, right? If taxes were a no big deal thing and it never bothered me and I never ever had to do anything with it, I wouldn't understand that situation wouldn't bring me joy, right? So where I think that the whole part of my journey that I really feel compelled to share about today is, as you mentioned, I took a break from my business. And for those of you that are listening, I know this is not just a business audience, just people that are going through life. So whether you are a business owner or not, I hope that this story that I'm going to share will, kind of resonate and you take something away from it. So I won't go into a lot of details about this, but I stepped away from my business last year because I had actually experienced a sexual assault trauma. And it was at the hands of somebody I knew. It was a friend's husband. And that experience was very difficult. And being somebody whose tagline in their business and philosophy is that joy is the best business strategy, I found myself in this place in my life that I was trying to grab onto my joy. But in order to do that, I had to focus on healing. And I had to do what made the most sense, even though for me, my business is such a source of joy and it is the primary income source for me, right? It pays my bills. So this situation that occurred in my life, it felt like it did a lot to remove my power. And when we think about nutrition, when we feel powerless, we lose our health. And it's important to know that no matter where you are and whatever you're walking through, you always have choices. And you're not alone in any of that. And a lot of times when we have our life all mapped out, right? We have a timeline and we have a plan. And I lean a lot into my faith and spirituality in how I live my life. And that's been a journey for me. And I found myself really being in this place where I was pleading to God and saying, God, what do you want me to do? What am I supposed to do? I did not want to go back into working in the human resources world because that world is stressful. A lot of people rely on you and it's a complicated environment and the laws are always changing and it's just getting to be more and more and more complicated. But that's what I did for 2 decades. So I know how to do that. It's an easy thing. I knew I could go and do that and make money and that money would just be in my bank account. I wouldn't have to do any business development. And yes, it would be work, of course, hard work, lots of hours, but it would give me this foundational time to go and heal so that I could move through that grief, so that on the other side of that grief, that joy would be way more readily accessible. And I found myself in this experience very much not wanting to be labeled as a victim, but really moving into a place of feeling like a survivor. Like I've survived that and I'm thriving in spite of that situation. And the thing that I think is the differentiator, and again, there's something tied here with nutrition, right? The moment you decide to start acting, you're no longer a victim. You are moving into that journey of surviving, and then you move into thriving. It's not necessarily a light switch. It is more of a dimmer switch. And it's not to say that I don't have days or moments where I have grief and sadness and that I'm grieve the loss of the friendship whose husband was my assailant. I mean, that is a reality that I live with, and there's still grief there. And I can hold on to the joy I have of the memories of that friendship. This wasn't her fault. And I don't know her whole story and all of those things. And even though I've shared what happened with her, she has her own things that she needs to navigate, and she's not able to embrace that that's a real true thing that happened. And that's okay, because she's where she is in her journey. And when we can look at the grief of that and also know that there's joy that can happen simultaneously, we can find other new things. The people that I have connected with, other people that have gone on a healing journey as a survivor of a sexual violence situation. I was also in a marriage that was not very healthy. And so I like to talk very openly and share my story, because when we can see somebody else who has walked through journeys that are similar to what we have gone through, or that we've seen people that we love in our lives going through. There's joy in knowing that there's something on the other side of that. And it's not necessarily just hope, but it's like, oh, it makes us believe that that's possible. And I like to say that there's definitely a difference between hope and faith. Faith is like knowingness. I had a knowingness that this thing that happened wasn't like written in the stars that it was going to happen to me. But I knew that I was going to do something with it. And here we are, right? And I'm here and I'm talking about it, and then this is going to go out there, and I don't know, maybe one other human being is going to hear it and say, oh wow, like I'm wondering, what would it look like for me to move from this place of grief and victim and begin walking that journey and integrating the joy? Because even if you can't be in that constant state of joy, you can find those moments and know that like joy is actually a choice. Like you can be there, and maybe it's listening to your favorite song. Maybe it's reading a quote that you love. Maybe it's having a conversation with a friend that you love. And the best antidote to kind of like, if you're feeling like you can't find joy, I would say the best antidote to that is being in community and not isolating and thinking that you're all by yourself in that journey. So I'm going to just stop talking here for a moment and see, if either of you, if anything's bubbling up for you, because I love conversation, kind of that little back and forth. So please, by all means, Marilyn, what's kind of coming up to the surface in your heart around any of what I've shared so far?
So something that took me by surprise, and I'm not sure if we talked about it when we had our last Zoom, is that I was targeted for human trafficking recently. And that shook me up. Like I was not able to really, I didn't want to go out of my house very much. I stayed in bed, and I was thanking God the whole time for protecting me. However, I was like, how am I going to use this? And just talking through it with people, it's like, let's be more aware. Like I was shopping by myself, and I parked next to a van. All of the windows were painted white, which I thought, that's weird. And normally I back into stalls. However, this time I was in a rush. And so I just pulled in front first, and the white van was on my right side. And I was on the phone because I was heading to an event, a networking event, and getting my supplies for the networking event. And I quickly went straight to my car. And as I was driving out of the parking lot, that's when I noticed on the handle of my passenger side, there was a little white plastic bag tied to that handle. So if I had been more aware before I left that parking lot and I had gotten out of my car, you stop your car, stop the engine, you get out to inspect, or maybe take that plastic bag off, that's when that van door would have opened and I would have been taken. Right. So we think that these things will not happen to us until they do. And I was just like, well, I'm going to make sure that I share my story to make sure that maybe somebody else will hear that and they'll be protected. They'll be more aware with their surroundings. And now I'm very aware. I will never park next to a weird van that's all their windows are painted white and people are not able to see inside. These are the things. And then notice, like, okay, if you see a plastic bag tied onto one of your handles, or if you see a zip tie tied onto your mirror, that's you being targeted. Get in your car, lock all the doors, or go back into the store and ask for help, or call security, call 911, whatever it is, because you're keeping yourself safe as well as maybe possibly another person. So that's what came up when you were sharing. Thank you so much.
Wow. Yeah. And I think the thing that's really interesting that you brought up is you're like, I'm going to share this, because if one person hears it, then you maybe impacted that person's life. And I find it really interesting. I actually recorded a podcast episode with somebody yesterday. And the podcast is called Grief Stew. And it's very interesting, right? It's kind of like what's in your stew, right? Like life is all full of grief. It's just everywhere and it's okay. But we were talking very much about this kind of taboo about sexual violence in particular, because it's such a private thing. And right after the assault happened, I actually started talking about it right away. I'm a verbal processor and I'm a community gal. I'm like, I need my peeps. I need my people around me. I'm not going to do this by myself. Like, I knew that this was not my fault. There was a substance that was put into my drink. Like, I know that all of that is true, whether or not there's any, like, I'm not going to go into all those details, but I know that that is true. And then as I was talking to the people that I thought I knew very closely, I was finding out that there are lots of people that have that same shared experience. It's like 1 in 4 people have a sexual violence story. And that is devastating to me that there's not more awareness of that. And it's because it's kind of icky to talk about, right? And so for those people that are capable of sharing their story or reporting it, right? And not like holding on to like, well, if I report it, like what's going to happen? It's like, let go of that piece of it, because if we're going to make changes to this world, we have to make it normalized to like know that these things are out there. And I also think like from the human resources side of it, for me, I very much felt like I had all this knowledge and all this resources through just the work that I did. And I understand what happens when people have life stuff that they don't deal with, and how it shows up at work. And I thought for myself, you know what, I need to make sure that I'm doing this work on myself, which is why I stepped away from my business. I went back into the HR world because I had been out of HR for 5 years. And then I went back into it. I was a totally different person. And I was like, I'm not going to be who I was before. I mean, I was very open and very vulnerable. I told people my story because people were like, oh, that's weird. Why'd you leave your business to come back to HR work? And I was like, well, let me tell you a story. Right. And so I would share my story, and it opened up spaces for people to tell me things that they were like, I've never told anybody this at work before. And I feel really comfortable sharing that with you. We don't know when we're going to become a vessel for somebody to speak something, because when we're holding on to that stuff, that affects your body at a cellular level. When we hold on to the junk that's inside of us and the stuff that's happened to us, and we're not processing it, we're staying in that victim state, you are going to have an impact on your health and well-being. It has been scientifically proven over and over again. I don't have the studies because I just know that because I've done a lot of reading about it. Go out there and research it. Like, trauma changes your brain structure. Like, there is proof around that. And I just think that we have to be open and normalize the fact that like hard things happen. Joy can coexist with that, right? And it's your responsibility. And there's so many resources. And I'm not saying it's easy, right? Marilyn, you and I, we worked through things in your own journey and your work with me. And we worked through things, and it was hard, right? Because like Angelina was saying, our brain wants to keep us safe. And so it doesn't want to let us go into these spaces. But we have to shine light into those dark places, into those little cracks and crevices. And of course, that will be in your own unique timing and your own unique way. Like, my way isn't everybody's way. This isn't about like, Allison said, I have to do these things in order to like move through my grief and my mess so that I'm a healthier person. But, mental health and all of that stuff is having the greatest impact on our economy and on our children and on seniors. And loneliness is an epidemic. And when we walk around with these grief-filled stories and secrets, and we're not doing anything with it, it is contributing to that epidemic. I could talk for like 5 hours about all these things. So Angelina, I'd love to kind of like just hear any thoughts bubbling up for you, because I felt so much resonance with a lot of the things that you were saying. If you don't mind, I'd love to just kind of hear what's bubbling up for you.
No, I don't mind. Exactly. Feel so much. We're on the same page with so many things. We have to meet up after this is over. So let's make sure we get connected. Some of the things that came up for me was, I love where you said, hope, like hope and hoping is different from knowing. I think that's really important. And thank you. It's a reminder, this is always a reminder. And, so yeah, that part was, and I even actually, because I took lots of notes, I actually circled it. I was like, yep, hoping and knowing. I love that, because when we know it, it's in our core, and there's so much there for us. There's so many gifts for us. We talked about the bravery and the courage. It's that knowing. And then going back to the example of me in the elevators, now sometimes I'll approach an elevator and I'll get in, and that for a split second, I'll get the subconscious mind saying, "You sure you want to do this?" And I'm like, okay, the chances of it getting stuck and me actually suffocating in here and having a heart attack and dying is like none, right? I don't ever remember hearing that happening to someone. So in that split second, it comes up, but in that split second, because I have a knowing now. Right? It's not that I'm hoping I'm not going to die and have a heart attack and suffocate. And if this, gets stuck, I know I'm not going to.
That's right.
So now I walk in and I press that button and I'm like, okay, I got to get there faster. I'll take the stairs if I'm wanting some exercise, but I always check in first. Am I taking the stairs because I'm feeding the subconscious mind that fear? Or am I taking the stairs because I want to get my steps in for the day? And there's a difference there. So that's what came up for me when you said the hoping and the knowing. Yeah. And with enough practice and enough evidence, even what you talked about too, the joy and the grief, like you got to practice. Like you said, joy is a choice. And so it's practicing in a state of joy.
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing what resonated with you and your perspectives. I think that the interesting thing too, that like kind of like using your elevator story, like you very much were like, I never heard that was a thing. And sometimes it's not even our subconscious, it's like the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. And so when you're thinking about the nutrition of the life that you live, like look around at the people that you're surrounding yourself with. And what are the things that they're saying and reinforcing? And because it's very, very easy to stay where you are because that's a known thing. And it is risky to move into the unknown, even though it might be the better thing. And so that's why people stay in unhealthy relationships. That's why people stay in unhealthy eating habits. That's why people stay in jobs that are sucking the life out of their soul. And because it's known, like, at least I know this misery. At least I can predict what's going to happen in this totally unstable relationship. Because it is a known entity. And so the not knowing is scary. And that's where that groundedness into yourself and who you are and what your values are and what your worth is. Everybody that's listening to this is worthy of having a joyful, safe, love-filled life. And that is a true statement. There is no other thing you need to hear. You don't need another course. You don't need to, lose weight. You don't need to, none of that. Like right now, everything that you are in your being and in your essence and in your soul is worthy of love, safety, and joy. And so take the risk, move into the unknown, and don't do it alone. Like find people who are like, yes, that's amazing for you. And if you don't know where to find those people, There's 3 of us right here, and we could connect you with lots of other people, whether they're business owners or communities. I mean, I'm in awesome communities of survivors. And so you are worthy, all of you. Thank you for having me, Marilyn.
Thank you so much, Allison. So I just want to recap a couple of things that I took notes on. You know, I love that you said life be lifing, because that is very true, right? Life be lifing sometimes. And the moment you start acting, you move out from being a victim and you start thriving, and joy can happen simultaneously. That was huge, because taking action just gets you moving forward, and you're not able to think about, everything that was keeping you stuck before. The last thing, understanding grief. Understanding joy comes from understanding grief. And I was like, that is powerful, because we have to feel the grief to feel the joy, and feel the joy to feel the grief. So thank you so much for sharing. Please tell the audience where is best to find you, how can they connect with you?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for mirroring those things back of the little nuggets that you took away. So on most all of the social medias and on the interwebs, I can be found at Profit Coach. So it's profit spelled like making money, but with 2 F's, because more is better. So PROFFIT Coach, COACH. And I work with small business owners, but I also do a lot of work with individuals. Done a lot of ADHD coaching, actually. So if anybody is out there and they have ADHD and they're struggling embracing that part of their essence to move forward, that's a journey that I've been on myself, and working through that shame and self-judgment and all those things, and seeing all the beautiful gifts in my ADHD is something that I love doing and helping people with, because it's a superpower. We just have to understand how to leverage that. So, and may I mention the nonprofit that I'm really passionate about supporting? So there's a nonprofit called Core Defense here in Northern Colorado, which is where I live, and they provide trauma-informed defense classes for adults and children survivors of domestic and sexual violence as a means of body-informed healing. And their name is Core Defense, COR Defense, DEFENSE. And I'm currently doing some fundraising for them, but they're always raising money. It's really important work that they're doing. It's helping people move out of that victim state and teaching them how to feel safe and good and whole in their body. And so thank you for letting me kind of mention that, because we're in fundraising mode right now. So thank you so much again for having me and for participating in the conversation.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Angelina. I did want to share a little bit about Frequence, because we're talking about nutrition for the body, mind, and soul. I think that mental wellness is so huge, and I've become a very, very big advocate for it, because something that I've been dealing with that I got to share recently is my business coach passed away, and I loved her so dearly. And I mean, she was only 35, and I was in not a good space, not able to get out of bed and not function and not check up on people, not be the person to reach out to people. And so when I was able to test out these Frequence products, one of them being a nootropics for brain health, and that one helps with not only brain health, but mental performance, energy, mental clarity, concentration, alertness, just lifting up the mood. Also having 11 different harmonic frequencies infused, like I noticed a difference after, drinking this consistently over a month. And I was like, man, other people may want to feel better, may want to raise their frequency. And that's something I'm learning more about. They also have another product called Source, and that is fulvic powder, and that's going to help detox your body. So a lot of people, if they're eating especially processed foods, you're not 100% sure of the different things, toxins, dyes that are in it. So the source of fulvic powder is going to help go through, when you drink it, it's going to go through your intestines, your stomach, all of that, and attract all the toxins and chemicals, and it's going to come out as waste. So something that is really, really close to my heart, because we just never know. You know, we're constantly, as human beings, we're constantly taking in things that we don't know always about. Even if water, right? If we go to restaurants, we don't know what's in their water, things like that. So just be making people more aware, and I would love to help answer any questions. Mental wellness is a huge proponent and why we are doing what we're doing, and that information will be in the chat, so you can reach out to me more. Also, Allison and Angelina's information will be in the not the chat, the the notes along with this podcast. So thank you so much for being here. We want to especially thank Mutual Aid Network. It's a nonprofit that just takes people's strengths and people are able to work around the whole world. So Mutual Aid Network, I'm so thankful for them, because this is who is sponsoring this podcast, being brought throughout the whole world. And Mutual Aid Network, I'm doing it actually in a week, Zoom karaoke, because we all have our own strengths. So my way of giving back to the Mutual Aid Network is hosting Zoom karaoke for their Christmas party. And some other people, maybe their strength is websites. So everybody is trading time with each other, and that's how we'll, a rising tide lifts all ships. So if people are not able to pay for whatever reason, this is what Mutual Aid Network is about, and it's a wonderful nonprofit. So thank you again, and we will see you next month for the World of Nutrition podcast. Aloha, everyone.
Aloha. Thank you, Marilyn.